Success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about living a life that reflects your values and priorities. Welcome to Engineer Your Success, the podcast that helps you lead with intention and live fulfilled.
What would happen if you applied the same rigor to developing your strategic skills as you do your technical skills? Welcome to the Engineer Your Success podcast. I'm your host, Dr. James Bryant, your guide to designing and living a life where you are winning at work and at home. And today we are going to be talking about what separates engineers who plateau in their careers from those who break through into leadership. Joining us for today's conversation is Dr. Bushra Khan. Dr. Khan, welcome to the show.
Dr. Bryant, thank you so much for having me here. As the young people say, the vibes be vibing. So I am very, very excited.
Yes. And so tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah. So I am a professor at the University of Ottawa. I'm out in Canada. I teach in the MBA program and the engineering management program. So I do that. I also am a speaker. I speak in a lot of tech conferences and very tech forward platforms. And the third thing that I do is I run my own business working with tech leaders around leadership and team performance. And what I see over and over and over again, whether they're my engineering students or tech leaders or VP senior directors at a tech startup, what we see over and over again is tech leaders are so smart. And this aligns with a lot of the emotional intelligence research that's out there, which is my background, where IQ and technical skills, absolutely, those are needed. You need to be smart. You need to have strong technical skills and not and you need to have superior emotional intelligence competencies. And that actually accounts for twice as much value than IQ and technical skills. So when these tech leaders are in their industries for say 5-10 years and they're looking to move up, they're hitting a styrofoam wall. It's not a concrete wall. They're not getting hurt, but they're trying to grow, and then they're like, what's happening? And that's where I come in. That's where my team and I come in, where we're coaching them, we're teaching them, we're getting them to kind of flip their mindsets around emotional intelligence, no longer being soft skills, because like you said, there's nothing soft about it. It's all about being strategic. So IQ and technical skills, really important. Emotional intelligence is twice as important as you are looking for superior performance. So that's what we do.
Okay. All right. And so what are some of the stories, or maybe I can frame this a little bit better. I can think of people that I've known, and even the people that you've just described, where they're engineers or technical people in all of their life, their strengths that they've been leaning into have been what was needed in order to make it to the next level.
Yep.
And now they're getting to this point where they're hitting that wall where their strengths that they've been using are no longer enough to move them forward in that moment.
Oh my gosh. How many stories? Tons. It's okay. So I'm working with this VP. No, I apologize. He just turned VP. I'm working with a VP, and him and three of his colleagues, it was a startup 15 years ago. They started the organization. So four friends, they started the organization. 15 years later, it was just four of them. Now it's over 400 people. They all grew, they became CEO, CFO, VP, and then he was let go. 15 years later, uh, he was let go. Why? And all the feedback was, you're not strategic, you're lacking vision, you're still in the weeds. You're putting out the daily fires where you should be stepping back and coaching others. And I'm paraphrasing here, but it should be others who are doing it. And what we're working on is he just had an aha moment. This was like not even 2 weeks ago. He had this aha moment where but I don't know how to teach people what's inside my brain. So it's not that he doesn't want to teach. And then it also kind of comes in with this, and I am carefully using the word myth, the myth about micromanagement, right? That technical leaders, they want it done in a certain way. They're micromanagers, otherwise, they'll be unhappy. And that's why technical leaders really struggle to become people leaders. And he had this aha moment where nobody taught me how to coach and mentor others. I don't know how to communicate what's in my brain and write. And it's not just having a process document, it's really watching someone grow and fumble and mess up from day one, but then they'll mess up a little bit less the second day and then the third week and then so on. But once you've downloaded what you're able to do in your brain onto somebody else, that right there is what changes from being a technical leader to a people leader. There are tons of stories like this. If I were to kind of TLDR too long, didn't read the synopsis of all the client work we do, it's Bushra. If people just listen to what I say, things would go much faster or would go much better. And that's where we come in around. Okay, how do you inspire others? How are you coaching and mentoring others? What are your emotional self serving bias triggers? And do you know what other people's self serving bias and their triggers are? Why do we need that? And then there's of course there's pushback, but they're in it for the long run, and that's where the magic happens, right? That's where the buy-in happens. So doing a lot of mindset shift changes, and those who understand it, they do well, they grow.
And I imagine you run into situations where people that don't know how to do it are even afraid to admit that they don't know how to do it because they don't feel that they're in a safe space to be able to communicate that.
Especially if you are a leader, a senior manager, a director, a VP, those who are unsure of their following, to admit, hey, I don't know, that is like for many of them, that is very scary, right? Those who are very comfortable with their following and they have that psychological safety and that trust. Yeah. Tons of leaders will be like, hey, I don't know this answer right now, but I'm going to come back to you. And those are the ones, of course, and we see all the research. And, I'm sure we've all experienced too. Like, when a leader is very sure of themselves and they are comfortable to say, hey, I goofed up, I messed up, and I don't know the answer. Also, know leaders who will not admit, they will die on the hill, never admitting that they made a mistake or I don't know. So it's a spectrum. And our my goal in life is, and I kind of want to come back to one of the things you said in your intro, is how to be successful in the workplace and in life. And let me tell you, I had heard about emotional intelligence prior to my research, but like many people, I thought it was just about how do you manage your emotions or how you be nice. And it is so there's a little part of that, but it is so far from true because emotional intelligence isn't about being nice. It's about understanding what motivates and drives you and what sets you back. And do you know what motivates you and drives you and sets you back? And like, how do you bridge that? That is emotional intelligence. It's not another way of just being kind or nice. So when I learned about emotional intelligence and I did all my research around EI, it's taught me how to be a better parent. It's taught me how to be a better partner. It's taught me how to be a better community builder. Ottawa is my home. I love where I live. And I'm a huge community activist. I work in my community. I work in my kids' school, work in my cultural and my religious community. I have a really strong family and I have a really strong in-laws family. So EI has really shifted my perspective around everything I do.
You know how to solve tough technical problems, but leading people, that's a different challenge. Stepping into leadership means more than just knowing your stuff. It's about inspiring, communicating, and navigating challenges with confidence. At Engineer Your Success, we help technical pros like you grow into leaders who just don't manage the work, but lead the people who do. If you're ready to lead with clarity and impact, visit engineeryoursuccessnow.com today, because thriving isn't just for others, it's for you. No, I think that's great because I often will say that there's only one you. And when you improve your ability to communicate and to process and to think strategically in one area of life, it helps all of the other areas. And so if you learn how to be a better communicator at work, there is absolutely nothing stopping you from applying those same principles to becoming a better communicator at home.
1,000,000%.
And I think part of the EI, emotional intelligence, it's exactly what you said, having that awareness of what motivates you, kind of how you're wired, but also the impact and influence that it has within the context that you're in. So, both at work and at home and the people that you're interacting with. And so it's not just the emotional intelligence of yourself, but I think it's also the impact that it has and impact that others have in the context that you're in.
Absolutely, 100% agree. And I will say that yes, it has made me a better partner with my husband and has made me a better parent to my kids. And I see it. I really see it. And there are a lot of like emotional intelligent like parenting stuff out there. There are. And I so my kind of call to action to those who are listening in is that really like understanding it. AI is not just a framework in the workplace. It is a framework like in life. If you are a community leader, a parent, a partner, a religious leader, if you are a work leader, it really is it's a beautiful framework that you can use and it is tangible. It's not just like woo woo, be kind and kumbaya, although there's power to that, but it is very tangible. I refer to Daniel Goleman's framework, and Daniel Goleman is not the first one to come up with emotional intelligence, but he is the first to make it very accessible. The words and how he describes it, and the examples and the case studies are very relatable. And so, using so there are four domains in Daniel Goleman's framework. We have self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship management. And when I walk in, um, and I'm telling you, when I walk into any situation, it could be like Sunday dinner with family, like, I will do, like, a mental inventory checklist, okay? I'll think about the relational dynamics within, like, the people who are in the space, and I'll be like, "Okay, here are the 12 competencies under the framework. Alright, where am I lacking? What am I strong at? And where am I lacking? And, like, how is that showing up?" Right? If I had a tough week, how is that tough week translating into some of these competencies? And what do I know about somebody else? Okay. What are their wins and losses that they've recently experienced? And how is that showing up in those competencies? And while that mental load walking into a situation might seem like a lot, and at first it is, but it becomes natural like anything. As you practice, it becomes more natural. But when you walk into a situation, let's say like a family dinner when there's like 20 people around, or a board meeting when there's like 12 different stakeholders with 12 different competing priorities, or you're walking into a community event where there's like 300 people at a town hall and there's like a couple of contentious topics that are come up. When you do that mental framework check, you are so prepared. And your amygdala if we talk about like neurocognitively, your amygdala is a lot more relaxed and your prefrontal cortex is a lot more aware of what's happening. So you're a lot more in charge of what you say, you do, and how you act and feel.
No, I think yes, because when you first start anything new, it may feel awkward when you're trying to apply it. And there are people that are listening and they're gonna be like, I have to go have those four pillars and I need to understand the 12 different things, and that's a lot. No, no, with anything, the first few times that you're going to apply it, it may be challenging. However, when you begin to see the results of applying that type of framework or any framework that you want to use in terms of a principle to help guide your decisions and what you're doing, it becomes easier and easier to do that. One of the ones that I use a lot and I use with clients is curiosity versus challenge. Do I need to come at this particular situation with this teammate or this thing from a position of curiosity or challenge? Do I want to explore more? Is that what the person needs? Or is this person kind of dragging their feet and they actually need challenge? Because it's not, one is good and the other is bad, but it's assessing the situation, using some emotional intelligence to assess the situation, and then to figure out which path to take.
How do we move the needle forward? That's what I'm hearing you. Um, and I kind of want to circle back to like the myth about the soft skills and the strategic skills, because soft skills is a very outdated term, right? Which I think that's why emotional intelligence, like it was kind of like anything technical is like something to do with computer, like typing, writing emails, Excel, building with your hands. Um, and soft skills is everything else, right? And it's this big bucket. And it's such an outdated term. And when we look at, if you were to look at any of these kind of global reports, whether it's McKinsey or the World Economic Forum, where you just see like what are the top leading skills needed for future of work, right? So folks who are looking to level up, and this is to the listeners who are looking to level up, going from manager to senior manager to director, or director to VP, or people who are looking to level up in life, check out these reports, World Economic Forum, McKinsey report, and the top skills needed, future of work, not a single one of them are technical. Every single one are strategic decision making, influence, persuasion, and emotional intelligence is like right up there every single year in the last, I want to say, 8 or 10 years. And why? Because these technical skills, and we are in a day and age where technical skills can be learned. Again, I want to really emphasize I'm not saying that technical skills and intelligence and IQ are easy to obtain and learn and master. By no means. What sets you apart as you are learning to grow to be a stronger, better performer is emotional intelligence, are these skills. And there's so much research out there that it demonstrates that. So it's that kind of that myth around soft skills versus strategic skills. That's why I'm like shouting from the mountaintop, no more soft skills. Let's call them strategic skills, because it's also like and I joke and I say it's like a marketing shift, because folks who are focusing on soft skills, if there's something weak about it, the word in itself, soft, might be interpreted as weak, and there's nothing weak about these strategic skills.
Yeah, I think it's just from the whole thought of soft skills and the negative connotation when I was growing up or coming up, I can remember soft skills were for the people that didn't know how to do the technical skills. And you would have, if you were interviewing someone and they talked about all of their soft skills, it was like, okay, that's great. I want to know, do you know how to do the design or do you know the technical stuff? And I was always going back to the technical stuff. What I find now is that people do want you to have that technical foundation, but that technical foundation is no longer enough to propel your career the way in which it used to be. Before, if you had the technical foundation, they would assume you were a leader, they would make you a manager. You might struggle leading people, you might be a horrible middle manager, but that was your path to get there. Now there's a much more forethought in not only having that technical track for people that want to do technical type work, but also having a pathway for people that want technical plus those strategic skills.
100% bingo. It's like what you said, it's like it's no longer enough. So you do, again, you need the IQ, you need the technical skills, you need to know how to do your job, right? You cannot just fluff your way through it or BS your way through it. You need to know the technical aspect and be really good at it too. But that level of standard has raised, right? And and a lot of that can be learned, and you know like old school styles textbooks or new ways, through AI, and just in a traditional classroom or outside of a traditional classroom where you learn it on your own. And even the emotional intelligence or strategic skills, right? How to communicate, how to influence, how to persuade, how to lead a team from point A to point B, all of those can also be learned. But do you have a space to practice it? right? And that level, the standard has just increased. And in a lot of ways, that's really great. And in a lot of ways, there needs to be, and it's not just enough saying like I know about it, because social media, and maybe it's just my algorithm, like every second video is about emotional intelligence or like how to not be a bad micromanaging boss, and that's like my every second video. But it's also important that you practice what you're learning. And I think that is where, um, like what you were saying is like scared to make those admitting like, hey, I don't know the answer, or scared to admit like, hey, I know I goofed up here. I apologize. Let me come back with a better way to approach this, and let's try again. But that ability to actually those strategic skills, that's where a lot of leaders feel that psychological fear in the
Yeah.
workplace.
This is Dr. James Bryant, the coach in your corner. If you're an engineering leader who wants to win at work and at home without burning out in the process, keep listening. Every week, I help my private clients bring order back to their leadership, their schedules, and their lives, not because they're doing anything wrong, but because they've outgrown their old definition of success and they have no idea what to do next. Together, we define what winning actually looks like for this season of their life. We help them build the clarity and confidence and systems that they need to make it real so they can lead with purpose while staying present for the people who matter most. If this is you, then it's time to take the next step. Visit engineeryoursuccessnow.com to schedule your complimentary integrated success strategy call. Let me help you win at work and at home. What's one thing that you changed your mind about? Like before you started digging into it, you thought one way, and now after learning more, you've changed your mind.
Easy. So this whole like, if I can do it, you can do it too.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
If I can do it, like if I can do it and I struggled and I, overcame it, then you should be able to do it too, like period. And realizing that one person's hard is not someone else's hard. And one person's easy is not someone else's easy. So what I see that has changed my mind, and I love that question, is um, my heart isn't your heart. So would it be okay if I talked about me as a parent?
Yes.
Okay. So I am a proud daughter of two immigrants. And our upbringing in Canada is very different than my children's upbringing. So my husband and I, we are not immigrants. We were born and raised in this side of the world. I was born and raised in Canada. My husband was born and raised in the United States. And our kids have a very different upbringing. And so, like, let's say, for example, my older one, he's 9 years old, he's doing homework. I catch myself getting really annoyed because he's getting frustrated. And I want to, and I really do catch myself. And sometimes I slip up, is like, why are you freaking out? Or why are you stressing? Because when I was your age, my parents would be screaming at me. I'm not even screaming at you right now. And then I have to catch myself, be like, okay, I'm not screaming, but I'm still causing him stress. So, how do I still hold my 9-year-old accountable? How do I still hold my team members accountable? How do I still hold my family members accountable? How do I hold my community members accountable while without causing that fear? And that's where I'm like, ooh, that's one huge thing that's changed for me. I'm still working on it. I'm still working.
I think any parent that has to deal with that is, we're all in the same boat. I know for me, it was from a parenting perspective, it was my mom and dad not only didn't have the time to help me with homework, they couldn't help me with homework. Like it wasn't even an option for them to
Sure.
help me. It was more so, you better make sure that you pass and that you get good grades, but they couldn't help me do
Yeah.
it. They didn't have the resources for tutoring or they couldn't do it themselves and didn't have resources to help me. Whereas our kids, we can help them. We have resources to help them. And it's frustrating when they don't even want that level of help. in a sense where it's like, okay, I'm here for you. No, no, no. And you're like, I'm trying to help you. You should be taking this help. But
Take my help, damn it.
yeah, because we see them struggling. We see them struggling. And so definitely, definitely. So that's a good one. My heart is not necessarily your heart, or everybody's heart is not the same. I love that concept. I love that principle. And it's true because it works both from a parenting perspective, it works for when you're managing your team and your company, your organization. It doesn't mean that you're not holding people accountable, but it does mean that you're having a different or an emotionally intelligent approach to that accountability.
Yeah. And it's also about like understanding the why, right? So now it's I had someone say like, so Bushra, not only do I need to lead like a team of like 35 manufacturing engineers, but now I need to be the team psychologist to understand their why. I'm like, damn, yeah, that's funny. And like we were laughing. And I'm like, you're funny, but yeah, it is true. You do need to understand their why. And whether I want to get back to that homework example. It's like, why is my 9-year old feeling frustrated when he has two present parents who can help him, with his homework? I'm not super fluent in French. We're in Canada. I speak je parle, or I speak a little bit of French, but my kids are in French immersion. So, I'm Google translating, I'm chat GPTing. I know the content, but it's in the language. And I could see the frustration and understanding the why, right? And the why is like, my kid doesn't want to disappoint me. He doesn't want to look dumb in front of his classmates. Because I'm a little bit unsure about the French, which translates him feeling a little unsure about his French. So there's a lot of transference as well. So in the workplace, understanding the why, if a team member is struggling, and you need to figure out the why. What self-limiting beliefs does your team member have that they're kind of navigating through and that's showing up in the workplace? You know,
Mhm.
um, why is a micromanager micromanaging? Is because they've been burned maybe in the past where someone in their team didn't demonstrate or fulfill a role properly. So then now it's this mentality, oh, it's just easier if I do it myself. Or if
Yeah.
you don't do it exactly this way, then you are going to fail. And if you fail, then I have failed as a manager. So you know what? I'm going to save your ass and my ass. I'm just going to do it myself. Or I'm going to micromanage you and like watch you like a hawk. And it's understanding like the why. Like, why is there micromanaging happening? Or why is there this psychological fear happening? Understanding the why and oftentimes it comes something outside of the work.
Yeah. No, you're, as we've been saying the whole time, I absolutely agree. Yep.
Yep.
Because I deal with the same thing. And I think this is why fundamentally I approach the concept of work life balance from, saying that balance is a myth. Work life balance is a myth the way that we've been taught it. I look at it like riding a bike. You're dynamically shifting all the time, but you're moving forward towards your goal. And my whole aim in life is to help my clients and organizations that they work with win at work and at home. I want to help individuals win at work and at home, and I want to help organizations create an environment so that their employees can win at work and at home. And the reason is I think that integrated part of work and home is a key part of integrated success. And if either one of those are off, or it's going to affect the other one.
Yeah. Yeah. And could we talk about the how for a second? Like,
Yeah.
could we, that's the professor in me coming out. Like, can we now give people homework?
Yes.
Sorry, listeners.
No, go for it.
I would love like, okay, so Bushra, it's great. We're talking about emotional intelligence. We talked about Daniel Goleman's framework. We're talking about that it can be used in the workplace, at home, in the community, in your personal life. Now it's the how. So my call to action to those who are listening is, let's scaffold it, right? Scaffold means let's build upon it. So selecting, and you can choose one of the competencies from Daniel Goleman's framework, right? So there are 12 competencies: self awareness, influence, empathy, achievement, orientation. There's 12. You can Google Daniel Goleman's framework. Choose one of the competencies. So, for example, empathy. So you might want to choose empathy. And I want you to select one scenario where you are going to prepare for before you walk in. So, for example, you have a biweekly team meeting, and there is someone on your team that you don't always see eye to eye with. And again, empathy doesn't mean let's become friends and just be nice to each other. Empathy means, where are you coming from? And I may or may not agree with where you're coming from, but at least I am making an attempt to understand where you're coming from. So here's the homework is I want you to think of one or two empathy charged questions. So these questions could be the reason why this person is outwardly, why is this person outwardly acting the way they do? That could be a question. Why are they acting the way they do? Another question could be, what are top, what are the five most recent achievements this person has accomplished that you can appreciate? So, this person who you are feeling a little spicy towards,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
are five things that, you know what, like, yeah, this person did a good job. It could be in the workplace, or maybe their personal life. Another empathy charged question could be, of the of the decisions this person had to make that you don't agree with, which one could you get behind a little bit? Right? So these are, and you can chat GPT these questions. Have maybe one or two empathy charged questions before you go into a scenario, and actually physically write them down in a notebook. And as the meeting is happening or that scenario is unfolding, write down notes, right? Here are the kind of five achievements of this person that I can admire. Or here are the why behind why they're acting spicy. Or here are the reasons why they did what they did, but having a few questions before walking in. So, step one, look at the framework, Daniel Goleman's framework, pick one competency. Step two, come up with one or two related questions. Step three, have those questions written in a physical, old school notebook and walk into that space with those questions so it's right forefront in your mind. Step four, do what Bushra said. Do not think you're going to remember everything, because what happens when you walk into a stressful situation? Your amygdala takes over and your prefrontal cortex shuts down. So all those amazing things you heard on this amazing podcast, it's going to go out the window because
Yep.
you're stressed. So
Yep.
that's my homework for everyone.
No, I think that's great, and I think that's a great way to start wrapping up this interview. So, if someone's listening to this, they really are jiving with what you are saying. What's the best way for folks to get in contact with you?
Yeah, my website, Leading with BK, that's Leading with Bushra Khan. So B for Bushra Khan, K for Khan, or on LinkedIn. They can find me as Dr. Bushra Khan on LinkedIn, or on Instagram, Leading with BK. And the BK is Leading with Bushra Khan, Leading with Bravery and Kindness.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll be sure to include a link to all of that in the show notes. Before we do wrap this up, I do give every interview, every guest the opportunity to we'll switch things around where you become the interviewer and I become the interviewee. What is one question that you have for me?
One, ooh,
Yeah, you see, one question.
okay. So I know you are an engineer,
Yes.
you work with engineers.
Yes.
What have you seen change in the landscape of engineering leadership? What have you seen change from when you were an engineer to now working with and coaching engineers?
I think the biggest change is the recognition of burnout, the recognition of the different signs that burnout is starting to occur, and then for managers to actively look to protect their staff from burnout. Those are not skills in the past that they were being taught or even deploying, but several leaders that I've worked with and several leaders that I've interacted with have now started talking about this whole concept of protecting their team from their own success, not protecting them from their ambition, right? You want to continue to feed that ambition. You want to continue to equip them to succeed, but doing it in such a way where you are actually protecting them from themselves and from burning out. And so that means that you're having a greater level of communication with them. You're telling them what you are seeing. You're giving them the why behind your decisions, because you could get in a situation where you're trying to protect them. They don't understand why you're trying to protect them, and they think you're trying to hold them back.
And you just said it, understanding their why and saying your why,
Yes.
and burnout is different for everyone. Just the way hard is different for everyone.
Thank you so much for being on the show. It was a pleasure having this conversation.
Thank you so much. I loved it. I love that. Thank you so much.
This is Dr. James Bryant, the coach in your corner. One moment that stood out in this conversation was the ideal that your hard isn't someone else's hard. For many engineers, career growth eventually feels like hitting a ceiling, not because you've stopped performing, but because the rules have quietly changed. Leadership requires letting go of the assumption that what worked for you will automatically work for everyone that you lead. Growth, and I mean this, real growth starts with recognizing that difference and choosing to lead with awareness instead of expectation. So if you feel stuck right now, that may not be a limitation. That may be an invitation to grow how you lead. And that growth, it's what unlocks the next level to help you win at work and at home. And I want you to be great this week.